Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment. I'm your host, Hollywood Wade, and I know you're used to seeing me on Sundays, but today is a little special. We're going to do a Wednesday show. I felt it imperative to come on and drop a show about the events that transpired this weekend, and I'm referring to the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. I wanted to get on here and kind of give my 2 cents, but I thought a little better of the situation, and I thought I know the guy I need to talk to get his 2 cents because it's worth a lot more than that. He's got a very personal experience and something very similar to this, and that is former guest Chris Colombo. Now, if you don't sure who Chris is or what his background is, a quick Google search will kind of do the job for you. But his father was Joe Colombo, and he was the leader of the Italian Americans Civil Rights League, and he was gunned down in a similar fashion. Unfortunately, he was not as lucky as Donald Trump. He wound up spending several years in a coma and unfortunately passing away. And Chris, at a very young age, had to deal with that. He had to take in, everything that come with it. He knew that there were a lot of things at play. When you go bucking the system and you start not following the path that people want you to go in, when you blaze your own path, you become a target. And they'll try to assassinate your character. If that doesn't work, they'll try to assassinate the person. That's what happened with Joe. That's what happened with Donald Trump. Fortunately, they weren't successful with Trump. I think that is a blessing because had he been assassinated, the streets would have ran red with blood. It would have been a bloodbath. It would have been the end of democracy as we know it. So God, while he saved Donald Trump's life, at the same time, simultaneously saved millions of other lives. And so with that, Chris brings a unique perspective to the situation because he had it happen. Everybody's going to give their opinions on this. All the big podcasts, all the major players, they're well within their right to do so. But I think reaching out to Chris, getting his perspective with his, unfortunate experience in this, touchy situation, I think it adds a bit of sincerity to it. He's been through it. He knows it. And he called this, as a matter of fact. I don't want to get too much into specifics we covered in the program, but he called this before it ever happened in a conversation we had. So let's get right into this episode with a collaboration of Crime and Entertainment and Taking Action with Chris Colombo. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a collaboration again with Taking Action with Chris Colombo and Crime and Entertainment. Chris, it's been about 7 months since we've been together and been on here. We had a great show last time, right around Christmas, as I do believe. You so eloquently let your feelings be known about a few certain individuals in the genre.
I'm kind of sorry I went in that direction. I was having a bad Lyme day, and I got to tell you, those two gentlemen are a waste of corporeal man's bone. There's not much soul in there, so
no. But if anybody hasn't seen that episode, I urge you to go check it out. Part 1's on your channel, part 2's on mine. But I bring you here today for a different.
I was wondering, you called for a quick, because usually we do them in person, and I believe you're coming in on the 16th.
I am.
I think we're going to do something nice on the 16th. I always enjoy your interviews, the way you interview, the way you've interviewed me. I mean, when I interviewed you, I found it pleasant, intelligent.
Yeah, and likewise, you definitely have a way with words, but it comes across where, and I don't mean this to be insulting, but all intelligence levels can understand it, because sometimes if you talk too high, you lose people that maybe don't get it. If you talk too low, then the higher echelon isn't interested. You have a great way of talking to the masses, and it captures that, and it comes across in person as well on film.
Well, that's because I like all people. I don't judge a person by what's in their pocket or what title is in front of their name. I respect people, not titles. And, I've been very fortunate through life. It's taken me a lot of strange twists and turns. Some not so good, some really good. But I've met a lot of interesting people along the way, and I've learned to communicate with them. And I'm not on a higher level or a lower level, just that I like to be on a plane that I can communicate with people. And I usually try and take complex things and break them down simple.
And I'm just going to take a wild guess. That probably was a lot how your father operated. And
Yes, absolutely.
that kind of brings me to why we're here today. Now,
I was
obviously,
wondering.
Saturday evening, I think it was Saturday, right? That was the attempt on the life of former President Donald Trump.
I was watching it as it happened.
Now, you and I talk probably, I would say, once a week. No?
Sometimes more.
Yeah,
'Cause
sometimes
usually
more.
when it's once a week, it's not one call, it's a series back and forth of whatever.
I don't remember the exact day, but I do remember it was a few months back. And we were talking about the presidential race, who was going to get the nominations, what Biden's chances were, what Trump's chances were, what he was going through with the court systems. And you said something very interesting to me that day. That's probably one of the only times I thought, Chris, you're a little off. I don't know if you're accurate with that.
I think that about myself regularly, so don't feel bad.
Well, I didn't say it. I just thought it.
Uh,
But turns out you were dead on. If you wouldn't mind, share with our audience what you told me, and then we'll kind of get into
on
why
which thing?
you called that there would be an attempt on Trump's life.
An assassination in public.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I saw it coming. I felt it coming.
And for people that may not know, and they may not know who you are, there's a direct correlation to why you would be a guy to talk to like that, because your father, Joe Colombo, was also assassinated. Who there's a lot of similarities. I mean, men that wanted
Complete
to,
similarities.
yeah, men that were of power, men that were respected, also hated because they were respected, much like Donald Trump.
I could see it more clearly because when you're a victim of a conspiracy, some people are conspiratists.
Yes.
But when you are an actual victim of a conspiracy, you see it more clearly. So you could see the difference between being a conspiratist and being able to locate and identify a conspiracy. Yes, I remember saying to you, and this is a bet I wish I lost. And I said to you that I'll lay you 100 to 1. That means you get 100 if I'm wrong. I get $1 from you. It wasn't the money,
Yeah.
but that there would be an attempt on his life, and I almost had it to the week.
Mhm. You mentioned, I think, specifically before the Republican primary.
Yes, before the primary. Well, that would be the goal
Why would that be the goal?
because it would cause disarray in the Republican Party. Another Trump supporter, after watching that happen, wouldn't be so quick to jump in his seat. Number two, the false story that the guy was a Republican would cause dismay. There would be lash outs that would be incredible by Trump supporters, which would destroy everything he built. That was the goal, in my opinion.
Okay. Very, very, very close. We're
So you
talking
would have more than the past Trump supporters in jail right now,
Yeah.
or shot themselves.
We're talking millimeters is the difference from what you said being 100% accurate. This bullet, as I'm sure most people have seen, grazed his ear. Luckily, he turned. I was listening to some show today, and it was detailing how
Did they
Trump's
say what
general.
caliber is? I'm guessing a 22 Magnum.
I read AR-15, but I mean, it didn't specify anything beyond that. And that's the
Well, there
thing.
is a 22 version of the AR-15, and a AR-15, which is an M16 converted, is very, very Colt weapon. Is very, very is a 223. It's a
Right.
very small head with a lot of velocity. And the way I saw the wound, it looks like it was one of those hollow point ones with the eagle claw around the hollow point. So when it mushrooms, it comes out like this. So
Mhm.
it goes in a small area, and once it hits impact, it spreads, and that could be for the multiple cuts of the way it hit. The hollow point went, opened it up, and you saw a mess there.
Right. And I mean,
That
this
would be
thing
a
was
preferred weapon of an assassin.
assassin. Now, it was very
Don't
close.
buy those bullets for nothing but that.
Yeah. And Trump generally always likes to face the crowd head on. He hardly ever uses graphs or never uses a teleprompter. He was using a slide. He turned to face that slide to explain to the people what he
Yes,
was talking
absolutely.
about. And that's
I
when
think that saved his life.
it did 100%.
And
It
I think
saved his
what
life.
else saved his life is the people putting up the signs behind him.
Yeah.
The guy never could get a clear bead because the sign would go up.
Because he kept having to
And I
wait.
think he had a bead on him. The signs went up. When he went to the teleprompter, the guy fired where his head blast was. Didn't expect him to turn back to address the audience. Thought he was going to keep looking at the teleprompter, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's what we have to go on right now as opinions. There's not a ton of facts available outside of the fact of, the guy was shot. I want to say his name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. He's from a small town in a Pittsburgh suburb, Bethel Park. He drove roughly an hour, I think, to be at this place. The one thing that was concerning to me when I started piecing together a lot of this evidence, you see there's some footage and it's around on the internet and TikTok of him crawling on top of that building and getting into position. And people are saying there's somebody on the roof. And then when you watch the angle of Trump talking, you can see a sniper behind him looking in that direction. When you hear the shot that's fired at Trump, he obviously grabs his ear, he hits the ground. Then you see that guy
Taken to the ground.
taken to the ground. And then that guy does his number and the man is eliminated. So
In my opinion, I'll tell you what I saw that was wrong with that. Okay, there is no doubt that our Secret Service is very good.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. A lot of people are saying they're reactive, not proactive. I don't think that to be true at all. What concerned me is Trump's mic was on, and I was watching it. And I went over it and listened to it over and over and over again. The same way I do on tapes on football, I have a different approach to analyzing things.
Mhm.
That's what makes me a good handicapper. I see and I hear what's wrong, you know. And my perception that I believe is you hear pop, 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 pop. I don't know how many shots was the assassin shots, Predator, but there was such a small group of time in there. You're talking about you hear the shot. It was over in less than a second, the group of shots. So
Yeah.
whoever shot that assassin had to take bead on him and then fire a definite kill shot, a headshot that was perfect. Snipers are good. They still got to get a bead.
Right.
If you know anything about high-powered rifles and scopes, different distances are important. Different angles are important. And to hit your target is important. And to hit it a kill shot, especially in this area, is important. But his shots, I think, were pretty much up. So from the time of the first shot, or you got to figure they were the last shot, that sniper had to identify, hit a kill shot, and get him in his bead first.
Mhm.
There wasn't enough time. They had to be in that bead first, and they had to know where he was, in my opinion.
No, I agree 100%. They had to already know where he was because we're not talking about a guy on the other side of the room here. We're talking about a guy was 400 plus yards away almost.
I don't believe it was 400 yards.
You don't think so?
No, 400 yards times 3, it's 1,200 feet. My estimation, that shot was not 400 yards. They said a football field and a half. A football field is 100 yards, which makes it 300 feet, and a half would be 450.
Oh, maybe I was thinking feet, not yards. So that
Yeah.
would have been about right.
That's an
Yeah.
awful close place to be with a long rifle.
Yeah.
That's not a very, very far distance.
Yeah.
I don't know how far, and I don't know who fired the kill shot on the assassin, but I guarantee it was further than that.
Yeah.
So they had to take bead on that gentleman. I don't even like to call him a gentleman.
No.
That animal. And I don't even want to insult animals. That aberration of nature. And score a headshot.
And that they did.
That they did. I believe that guy was in their bead before. with no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I think so too. Because
Unless they had suppressors on there.
the clip that you see while Trump is talking before you hear that first shot, that gentleman is already on his gun like he's looking at something. And then when you hear that first shot, he lets loose. And it's kind of right over Trump's left shoulder if you're staring at the video with the clip that I got. So I'm with you in agreement on that. He had to have already have him in his sights. Phenomenal job shooting by him on it if that was him that fired that kill shot.
The other thing is, it was ludicrous, and I was waiting for this when I was watching it, hoping I was wrong. I wanted to lose this bet. I don't want to ever see anybody. I remember watching my father happen to him on the news. I don't ever want to see that happen to any human being whatsoever. But there's a lot to be learned from reactions of people from that. You had no safe haven for that president and them agents to take him in themselves.
Mhm.
Behind them was vulnerable. The sides of him were vulnerable. Behind them was vulnerable. Behind them was extremely vulnerable, and that's not good.
Yeah.
Because every time they picked those signs up, they blocked the vision, Secret Service, spotters, whatever you had going. And who knows what somebody could have behind the sign.
Mhm.
And Pennsylvania is a carry state. There's a lot of people would conceal.
Yeah.
So it is pretty difficult to identify them, which they should have been leave your guns out of here. But Trump is for freedom of arms, and I believe that. That's good. But it's tough to defend them there, and you didn't have any spot that he wasn't completely vulnerable. Not one spot. And
Yeah.
there's no way you could have protected him in that arena.
Yeah, it seems like that was a little bit of poor, and again, I'm not in that line of work, so I don't want to speak out of school, but it seemed like it was poor preparation to prevent something like that from happening. I'm with you 100% on that.
I don't think it was any preparation.
Yeah. Where are you sitting right now on motive, maybe accomplices, deeper reasoning? Because obviously, like I said, this paralleled a lot with your father, and you've detailed and shown
Very, very
we've done in
similar,
the
very
past.
similar circumstances.
And you've detailed in our show in the past how there was some other things at work, some other things at play, other organizations. From that experience, going through that with your father, what do you think is at play here? What are we not seeing yet, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I don't know if you'll ever see it. I don't know if you ever see it. They don't leave too much of a trail. I
Right.
don't think there's any doubt on my father's assassination, and he lived 7 years after. I mean, they went to the extent that the same doctor that was waiting for Kennedy in Texas was visiting in the head neurosurgeon. And what killed my father was not the shots. They never put a shunt in. And we never knew it till almost 7 years later when the CAT scan was invented. He was one of the first, if not the first. And we brought the best neurosurgeon in the world in. And he said that it's completely can't be happened that you can do that many hours of a brain surgery and you don't put a shunt in, which drains the fluid. So they thought my father was in a vegetable state. Was not. He was almost as lucid as I. At times he was. We thought it was semi-comatose. It was the pressure that never drained hitting different parts of his brain, which was excruciatingly painful.
I can imagine.
So they even had that contingency. And, I think I proved it that the guy that shot the assassin on my father crawled up to 17 cops, emptied his gun, left his shoe, crawled back out, and went and walked and stood by my father in the hospital. We couldn't say that. And he later went on the lam. And what I mean by on the lam was he ran away. Fed said, let him come back. Plus, the FBI told us they were going to shoot him that day, and we had information. I mean, it was a no-brainer.
Right.
And the biggest parody of it is also I think Trump knew he has people out there and has disrupted a power base in this country because presidents come and go. The people that run the country stay.
Mhm.
He did fire the head of the FBI, no doubt. There's definitely not a doubt about that. He shook up the power structure of this nation. They came at our president or our ex-president, everything they had. First, they tried to assassinate his character with what's her name?
Stormy Daniels.
Is that her name?
Stormy Daniels, yeah.
Stormy Daniels, Stormy Fields, who cares? What's the difference? And that was your first sign. That was the first assassinate his character.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I don't know much about that case. I thought it was ridiculous. I didn't follow it. But even in essence, shouldn't the person getting the money be the one in trouble?
You would think.
I would think it's logical, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then she got some outrageous, and I don't even believe he slept with her. If he did, it's his business, not mine.
And in most cases, when people, I mean, I guess you would consider that a high profile form of prostitution if he's paying for some sort of sexual favor.
Wasn't she a porn star?
She was. Both people typically get an arrest in that situation.
I didn't see any of her porn movies. I'm happy not to. But and I guess it is a form of entertainment. I got it. But what did she get paid for these porn movies?
I'm betting not as much as she got from Trump. That's why
I'm betting on they don't make that much. About $2,500 a scene.
Yeah, especially
So
back then.
Upper echelon. I don't think she was.
No, she was not. She was not in.
Was Marilyn Chambers. She wasn't. What's her name? The blonde. What's her name?
Jenna
Jameson. Okay,
one of my personal favorites.
You got good taste. So anyway, moving forward. Not that I would know. So anyway, what did she get? 96 million?
Who? Jenna?
Listen, he did to hurt her. I don't even think he slept with her.
Yeah, I'm about like you. I never dove into that 100% because I didn't see what the big deal was.
If you got 800 guys that you slept with on video, at 1,000 to 2,500 a clip, maybe. What the hell? Not sleeping with Donald Trump to get $96 million. Well, there's your first sign. It was a rigged game. And they pushed it so hard that she benefited from it. She's smart. And I think all proof leads towards she was never with him.
Mm-hmm. It does.
It does. And if he was, what two consensual adults do, in my opinion, is their business. And I personally believe she shook him down.
Oh, yeah.
And that stool pigeon attorney, he's the worst. He's the worst. I heard a tape of him saying about the money. And Donald saying, I don't know what you're talking about. If one thing you learn about Donald Trump, self-expression is not a problem.
No. And I think that's what the masses have underestimated about Trump. You know, they held that recording when he was going up against Hillary where he's talking, gentleman talk in the locker room, whatever, and he says, just grab him right by the word. And I think they thought that was going to seal the deal and have everybody hate him. And it almost worked in the opposite. He's like one of those guys that you can't cancel. When you put out a situation.
There's anything to catch.
Yeah, he's very open.
What about my take on it? And I'm a handicapper.
Yeah. My
take on it is very simple. He's not a politician.
No.
He's a businessman. Pretty good one, we have to say. All right. Okay.
I would.
You know, everybody, there's jealousy, there's hatred, there's this, there's that, but he's a businessman. I think that's a good thing. Politicians got somebody writing his words. Yeah. It's a pointhead. Some of these people in Senate and Congress have been so long in there, they're entrenched. You know, they walk in broke and they leave with 9 mansions. Yeah. In fact, I don't know. Does that sound right to you?
No, it does
I think Trump came in there. I didn't think Trump in the beginning expected to win. So I don't think he can put together his infrastructure, but he tried. That's why people got fired, and he tried and he did, but he did try. Mm-hmm. And I think people judged him. I mean, would you rather a guy that's honest with you or a guy that's reading off a teleprompter? You hear him say, I hate teleprompters. He doesn't, when he goes in to give a speech, he doesn't have anything written. You know, so, you know, listen, I've always said the more words you say, the more likely you ought to say something that could be off color. I think his intention is good. Sometimes his delivery isn't the best, but this is not what he does. Do we want somebody that's going to read off a teleprompter? or do you want somebody that's there with their heart? I
Right,
prefer somebody there with their heart.
right now, you got somebody that can't even read off the teleprompter.
Well, who knows? Listen, I'm not here to knock Joe Biden. I think the country knows what Joe Biden is. And I'm going to give you what my opinion of that is. I didn't like Joe Biden. I didn't think he would make a good president, but the people spoke, and you support and stand behind your president.
Mhm.
That's the way I've always seen it. That's America. Follow me?
Mhm.
And what I didn't like, and it leaned towards my theory that actually came to fruition, is I was watching and I heard him say to his supporters, "We have to do whatever it takes to stop this man. What stop him? Beat him in the polls. Don't vote for him. Vote for him. I don't care. What do you mean by we do whatever it takes? Could that be ego?
Mhm.
Could that be you know something? I don't know. I didn't like those words because I think this was an organized attack personally because of the amount of time and bullets fired.
Mhm.
Unless the guy that hit the kill shot had a suppressor, which is a silencer, whatever. Okay, moving forward. For the leader of the free world to say we must do whatever it takes, he has supporters.
Mhm.
And there's people out there that maybe don't think so good and leave a lot to interpretation. So the president's got to be careful what he says.
Yeah.
You know, when people got upset when Trump lost, they threw everything but the kitchen sink at him. Okay. Now, you and I both know that they don't like demonstrations. Trump's not a dumb man. He didn't want a violent demonstration. You get more with peaceful demonstration. My father was a firm believer with that. That's why when he made the merger with the Jews and Maya Kahani, and he resolved the problems for Martin Luther King with the violent demonstrations, the people protest, and that's within our constitutional rights. Okay. What did Joe Colombo do? He gave the Italian Americans a voice. We're low people on the totem pole. We've suffered as much as anybody. We just don't complain about it. We don't stick together. We don't support one another. That's what Joe Colombo did. Right now, there's people in this country that feel they have no voice. Donald Trump has become their voice.
I
Now,
agree.
there's some good people, there's some bad people, there's some great people, there's all kinds of people. It's not his fault who supports him. And I've yet to see him look to incite somebody. Okay. Now, the way I look at it, does that make him a great president or a candidate for president? I'm skeptical. I watch. I handicap. That's why I'm probably the premier handicapper in NFL sports. 83% is not bad, brother.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
And later on, come on, I do it. So I look at it, what's wrong with this picture, but I take my emotion out of it. The same way when I look at a president. The same way when I handicap a game, you hear Tom Brady, you hear this one, you hear that one, you hear whatever. And I'm a big fan of Tom Brady, don't get me wrong. And people get so pumped up in the hype, they lose sight of the game, how important that game is to that team, who they're playing the next week, their injury list, just pump it up in the media. That's what politics has become.
Mhm.
And I believe what happened to Donald Trump is he didn't expect to run for president. I think he felt presidents, and especially during his era and part of my era, I believe Donald's a little older than me. It was a respectful thing. I mean, you talked about the issues. They mudslung at him. I don't think he ever got over that and didn't think that's the way it should be. And I think he rolled up his sleeves and got back in the fight. I think
Mhm.
he's learned since that, or evolved is a better word. Okay, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies, Wade. For some reason, the battery drained from 80% to nothing. We went black. I believe I was. Where did we leave off?
You were saying how he's kind of evolved in his run from the first one to now.
I I think that Donald Trump's perception of who a president is and what he has to endure to become president, which is a logical assumption, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I see it a little differently because I watch what goes on. Uh, it was not peaches and cream for this guy. They threw everything but the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
You expect the president once he gets elected, unite a nation, which he should do, and I hope he has the strength to do because I believe he's going to be our next president.
Oh yeah,
There's
100%.
no, there's no doubt in my mind, and I believed he was going to be our next president whether the shooting happened or not.
Yeah.
I believe that. And I think that's why they shot him.
Yeah.
To stop him. Okay. So when I say he's evolved, I think his understanding of not just protecting the country, fighting our enemies abroad, Cold Wars, all the issues, there's the power structure in this country. I don't think he expected to see that's un-American.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing that you could tell me to do to take executive action into your own hands and not be the president and kill people. I'm a victim of it. I don't believe in it. And if I didn't have that view, does that mean that I could go kill people because I feel that way because it happened to me? No, absolutely not. So when I say he evolves, I watched him in the debate. And let me tell you something. I knew this was coming. You know, they call me the wizard, the ghost, whatever. Merlin, those some of the nicknames. Casper, some of the games the feds gave me. You know. Let me just explain to you how unfair that cry is that they do to people. So let's look at him becoming president. They slung everything they could at him. Stormy, what's her name? Daniels. I mean, who would you think is a more credible person, Stormy Daniels or Donald Trump?
I'm going to go with Trump.
Well, I'm going to go with Trump too. Now, even if you reversed it, because I don't think sex has anything to do with it. I mean, sex, actual, there's 52 genders, whatever. I categorize people as human beings. Makes it easier for me. I don't care if you're in love with that microphone. If it is a child or a elderly person or handicapped or challenged, it's two consensual adults. What do I care what they do? Follow me. If you're in love with the toaster, I mean, who's it hurt? Okay.
Could hurt you.
No, but you understand what I'm saying. So, moving, very good point, too. I've never tried it, but do you have any pre-knowledge of this?
No.
All right, just asking. I mean,
but the internet is a wide variety of funny videos, so
Well, I don't watch that nonsense. I don't even watch my own videos.
You should. They're good.
So anyway, what?
You should. They're good.
You think so? Thank you for the compliment. So, you mean I amuse you? But anyway, moving forward. Moving forward. I like to quote movies. I like movies. I like certain sitcoms too. Moving forward, look what you hit this man with. They slung everything you could at him, and is that really the issues that we want to hear as American people? American people are feeding into it. It's like it's become the O.J. Simpson trial.
That's a good comparison.
It's become exploitive. It's who can say the more ridiculous thing about the other person. And I don't think Donald Trump was ready for that.
No.
I think he kept his issues to who was better for the presidency and the country. And they hit him with everything till he was in with the Russians to you name it, they hit him with. And I think some of his retorts were based on his emotion because they weren't true.
Yeah.
But I think it's obvious now. I think it's been obvious.
Yeah.
Follow me? Okay. Moving forward. What happens after that? Okay, Donald's in the presidency. Okay, now my heart goes out to him for all this, and even more this past because a lot of similarity. They came after me because I was the son of Joe Colombo. And at the end of the day, I gambled. But I had a 12-year fight with them. They spent $40 million, and they did things to me that were unheard of. Okay. But that doesn't still answer my question. Can and is Donald Trump a good president? It was really tough to judge that during COVID. I think he did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
He had it right. I have Lyme disease. I'm dying of it now. I died twice from it, the complications or whatever. The fat lady sang on me. I got reinfected, had another tick in me for 8 months. While I think I'm getting it cured, intramuscular and the only known cure for neurological Lyme, and killed my older brother, Joseph. It doesn't work well with our DNA. Has overcome me. There's nothing else I could do but fight it. Okay. So I'm very skeptical when I say things. It's not out of my emotion. It's not the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's not a divide and conquer thing. It's not because I like or don't like somebody or whatever. I see who's best for the presidency, who's best for the country. I'm not going to be here. I have children. Hopefully I have grandchildren. Whether I see them or not is very iffy at this point. So I like to see the future. So I looked at it as, okay, he won the first election. Did he do things picture perfect? Under those circumstances, nobody could. Uh, it's funny, the timing, and I'm not a conspiracist. I don't know if it's true or not true of COVID. Did that sabotage his campaign? Yes,
I
because
think
it
that.
didn't allow him to get out there and campaign.
Yeah.
He, people gravitate to him, no doubt.
Mhm.
He had a lot on his plate there. Plus, people were locked in the house, COVID, and the president always takes the fall, and he did a good job. I have an immune deficiency. If I get COVID, it could kill me. My kids had it. Nobody wanted to put them in the house. I had them here with me. That's my job as a father. If it killed me, I have no problem with that. I'm taking care of my kids.
Right.
No doubt in my mind. Donald Trump has that attitude. And staying in your house, I know because I have an immune deficiency, Lyme disease, that isolating yourself weakens your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, what it did to the economy. I mean, how could you tell men they can't go to work? How could you tell people? I mean, in the States, New York was ridiculous. How could you tell people that you could go into Walmart where there's thousands of people, but the small store where the people can come in one at a time and be isolated, you can't go there? I thought it was the most unconstitutional time in our country. Government can't tell people what to do like that. My opinion. I could be wrong. I started liking him with his opinion on that. I could die from it just by getting it. Forget about anything else. Is that courage? Is it stupidity that I took that stance? No, I took the stance as a man. Did I take care of my children? If that costs me my life, so be it.
I'll be it.
What am I put on this planet for?
Mhm.
I think Donald Trump says a lot of things like that. I believe he said, but that still didn't answer, would he be a good president? Couldn't judge what went on. I don't know. I went to the gas. I put the gas in the car. It cost me $50. Donald Trump left. It cost me $120. Heating oil. How do the elderly heat themselves? This country is in trouble. This country is supposed to let us us in Congress of the people. You got guys in there 30, 40 years. They are not in touch of reality. It's supposed to be taken from people that are there now. You can straighten out this whole country with a few rules. We'll get into that later.